All right, Emma James has been looking at the wide cross-section of reactions for us online, both in the media and social media. Here's Emma James with MediaWatch. What do you have for us on this news this evening, Salah Abdeslam's arrest?
Yes, Europe's most wanted man, possibly even the world's most wanted man, finally arrested. And the first official word we got from Belgium on this came from the immigration minister, Theo Franken, who tweeted simply, "We've got him." Slightly more considered words followed later from the Prime Minister, Charles Michel, including a photograph of him alongside President François Hollande. That was him receiving congratulatory phone call from the President of the United States. He says Belgium and France stand united in the fight against terrorism. Paris's Mayor Anne Hidalgo has also added her congratulations to the special forces in Belgium who managed to carry out this arrest of Salah Abdeslam in Brussels. Now, one of the quickest media organisations with confirmation of what was happening today was Dernier Heure, a Belgian newspaper. They were tweeting throughout. They tweeted simply, "arrested," and then this one, "injured and neutralised," which was an unusual term to use because ordinarily in French, when you see the word neutralised, you assume that they've actually been killed. Exactly, and that's ordinarily what happens. But as we understand it, Salah Abdeslam has been shot in the leg, has been taken to hospital, but his injuries are not life-threatening. Taking a look at Le Soir, they tweeted this photograph, which they say shows the moment that he was arrested. You can just see a shape on the floor. It doesn't give us a great deal of information there, but there are plenty of other images that really bring home the drama of what happened on the streets of Molenbeek today, because of course this is a residential area where all this was happening, and to see these, we're kind of getting a little immune to it now, especially living here in Paris where you see armed soldiers, armed police anywhere in public these days. But it still seems quite shocking to see the number of police officers out there armed. And the Huffington Post also goes on to report that Salah Abdeslam apparently didn't resist arrest. And they also quote Le Standard, a Belgian newspaper, that said only 10 shots were fired during this operation, which was quite an unusual turn of events, really, because after what we saw in Saint-Denis when Abdelhamid Abaoud was taken in a police raid, which was very, very violent. And
he went down in a hail of bullets.
Absolutely, but only 10 shots fired on this occasion, which is interesting to note, and it will be interesting to see what comes out and whether that means that he is ready to basically give himself up and perhaps even give information up. This Belgian journalist tweeted, "Salah Abdeslam, the man who is seen as a coward by the terrorists and as a terrorist by the rest of us, is arrested alive, of course. #loser." And it's an interesting tweet, that one, because in the early days, a lot of people assumed that Salah Abdeslam had done a runner. He chickened out of actually taking part in the attacks and left Paris. But we don't know whether that's true. And obviously the fact that he's being harboured alongside known extremists, known jihadis, suggests that he is still within the fold of ISIS. This was an article written back in December in The Independent, where they asked, did he run away in disgust, or is this just camouflage? In the early days, it was thought that he had gone to Brussels and then gone directly to Syria to hide out. But now we're wondering, was he in Brussels all along? The Telegraph also fleshing out who he was, as well as all of the other men involved in those attacks on the 13th of November. There were 9 of them who died. Salah Abdeslam is the only one still alive. Now, we're hearing as well that there were far more people involved in this cell, but it would appear that Salah Abdeslam may be able to provide answers. The Atlantic also looking at who is he, and they point out that he didn't have a long history of jihadism and hadn't travelled to Syria to fight alongside ISIS, unlike many of his other fellow extremists.
All right, Emma James with MediaWatch, thank you very much. And that rounds up